I mean, Now You See Me is kind of incredible because it's an original property that has become a franchise, which is almost unheard of. It's not a comic book, it's not an adaptation. What do you think it was about that first movie that worked so well?
It was a surprise to all of us that it did so well.
Yeah, you expect like a big superhero element to be necessary to a franchise, but this film has proved that you can do an original one.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think there were probably some things that required a serious, willing suspension of disbelief in the first one.
It's comedic, and there's action, and there's also really serious moments, but they somehow just meld together beautifully, and that's not an easy thing to pull off.
That, with the magical elements and capturing what makes us feel more alive about magic.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is your first villain.
That was one of the things that was kind of attractive about doing it in the first place, was just that, you know, I've never played a villain, and to play kind of a bad guy that's this crazy and this much fun in this cast was something that I was just like, yes, I would love to do. I want to do that. I suppose it's closer to a Gary Oldman villain than a Alan Rickman villain, definitely. But I don't know if I don't think it's up there with either of them. I would be loath to put myself in that kind of elevated company.
Yeah, and it's not a Voldemort sort of thing either. You have a nose.
No. I have a nose. He's much more. The thing is, he's much more pathetic than any of the villains in Potter. Like he's much more. His villainy comes out of like insecurity, which is just a crap reason to be a villain. But like, I think that is what, you know, it comes out of insecurity and issues around his dad. I mean, that's where it comes from, and it just manifests itself in a sort of lunatic, megalomaniac kind of way.
And so how aware were you of the first movie before the sequel came to you?
I mean, I was aware of it. I hadn't seen it in the theaters. I was with friends on vacation, and I remember sleeping in and coming downstairs, and they were halfway through watching it, and so I wasn't gonna then sit down and watch it, but then I got really sucked into it, so I actually watched the second half of the movie and then watched the first half later. But it's still, like, it's totally enjoyable.
When we saw it and we saw that it all worked, it's kind of a miracle. Like, because there's so much going on with the story, and there's so many characters that you need to establish, you need to hope that the chemistry all works. It's like, it's cheesy to say, but it's like a magic trick in itself that it all came together and worked.
I mean, you gotta stay focused on this deal. My mom watched it, and she's like, I got kind of lost.